Pointers for Chatuspadasana. Done correctly, this pose helps strengthen the hips. Jane begins by lying on her back. She bends her knees and takes her heels toward her hips. She wants her feet and knees about hip-width apart. Her toes point forward and her feet are aligned. The closer her heels are to her hips, the higher she can lift her hips. She stretches her arms toward her heels. If she can't reach her feet, she can wrap a belt across the front of her ankles. If she can wrap her fingers around her ankles, she wants to keep her thumb on the outside of her foot. She rolls her shoulders down and back, taking her shoulder blades into her back. Then, with an exhalation, she lifts her pelvis from the floor. Jane uses the pull of her arms to help lift her chest and pelvis higher. Once she lifts her hips, Jane wants to avoid turning her head. All of Jane's attention is on her hips. She's forgotten about her knees and feet. They've splayed out, stressing her knees and back. To help keep her legs aligned, she can hold a block between her knees. If the block falls to the floor, her legs have splayed out. She can also use a block between her feet to let her know if they turn out. Jane's hips aren't very strong, and she has trouble lifting them from the floor. To help her lift, she can bend her elbows and place her hands on the back of her hips. Then she pushes her hips up with her hands. She works to lift her hips away from her hands. She can then lower her hands and try to keep the lift. To exit, Jane lowers her hips to the floor and stretches out her legs.